Peace and blessings, family. I'm Anthony Muhammad. I thank you all for joining me on another segment of Brain Food TV and joining me on going through the week-to-week editions of the Final Call newspaper to try to give us guidance and light through this time. At this time, we will be going through the newspaper that came out April 7th, 2020, Ancient Babylon, A Sign of America. A written testimony. Amazing witness bearing to the truth, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and guidance from Minister Louis Farrakhan shines through in Jay Electronica's groundbreaking album, which is featured. It is him and Jay-Z. I suggest everybody go check that out. The first page that we will be deep diving into and touching on is on page 4, titled Hope Doubts About 2.2 Trillion Spending Bill. We're going to start from the beginning of this article, but further into it, it reads, but Washington, D.C. officials reacted angrily to the terms of the relief bill. The law categorizes the district as a territory, which means that the nation's capital will be severely shortchanged in the federal stimulus bill. D.C. is on schedule to receive $500 million in relief funds, while each state, even those with fewer residents than the district, will get at least $1.25 billion. Further goes on to read, critics complain that the package also fails to include an expansion of health coverage to cover COVID-19 treatment for the uninsured. The legislation also fails to increase SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or food stamps benefits. We have to see that we are not included. After this form of relief, we will not be included in any more relieving, because the government will not have the money to relieve themselves. Okay? This is talking about how if a disaster like this happens, food stamps will not be covered. Public assistance and things like that will not be covered. So we must create our own things and unify and come together as one and use all of our resources. Now, it further goes on to read, the legislation excludes immigrants in the country illegally, as well as children who are U.S. citizens but have at least one parent who is undocumented. Immigrant advocates also say the bill doesn't provide sufficient access to coronavirus testing and treatment to some immigrants who are here illegally. Many governors said the sweeping stimulus bill fails to provide states with enough money to battle the pandemic. So what are they saying? For immigrants here working hard for their families, trying to live an honest life, if one parent within the family is an illegal citizen, you cannot get the stimulus bill. This further goes on to read, this is not going to be over anytime soon, said Dr. Ray Winbush, director of the Institute of Urban Research at Morgan State University in Baltimore, said in an interview. And you know, we've been looking at the Institute, and the thing that we're fearful of is the social unrest. That's bound to ensure. And we think that's going to hit here sometime in late April or early May. It's already happening. We're a little bit early on that path now. We see people not able to stay disciplined, forming in large groups, parties and things of that sort. Due to the social unrest, there's nothing that pushes us toward doing that unless we really feel as if the social environment that we used to be in is more important than our pure health. Further along in this article, it reads, key elements are untested, such as grants to small businesses to keep workers on payroll and complex lending programs to larger businesses. Rebate payments will go to people who have retained their jobs. Agencies like the Small Business Administration and state unemployment systems will be severely taxed. And conservatives fear that a new, generous unemployment benefit will dissuade jobless people from returning to the workforce. So people, this is how they lull us to sleep. They give you these benefits for a certain amount of time, and they could even know that through this and after they give you this first paid stimulus package, that they won't have anything to provide you with later. And they know that in our communities, we do a lot of irresponsible spending. So this does not look too good unless we guide our people in the right direction. I'm going to move on to the next article on page 5. That was actually on page 4. This is on page 5. Economic Uncertainty and Instability Amid COVID-19 Crisis. That is the title. This article is written by Barrington M. Salmon. And the article before was written by Askia Muhammad. So now on to economic uncertainty and instability amid COVID-19 crisis. It goes on to read further in the article. Americans, primarily the lower middle class, low wage and working poor, are looking at an immediate future without an income. Many fear that their jobs being snatched away by circumstances out of their control will inexorably cause them to lose their homes or apartments and intensify their struggle to cover basic living expenses. Well, let's stop right there for a second. If they are predicting that from the jump of 282,000 people applying for unemployment benefits, spiking up to 3.3 million through the midst of a crisis where they have just bailed out the economy in some way. This does not look good for the jobs and opportunities for the indigenous people of North America. This further goes on to read, everything is dovetailing, intermingled. The medical safety net is connected to the economy, which is connected to education, which is connected to information technology, which is connected to everything. I don't know how much longer we will be able to keep up with our rent and mortgages and our homes and in our businesses. So it is time that we bring that $1.3 trillion together and bail ourselves out. And I would like to congratulate Brother J Electronica on a written testimony. It is a beautiful album. I suggest every single person watching this go listen to it and get as much as you can from it and enjoy yourself while listening to music, but not being steered away from the divine path. We turn to page 10 now, where the title is Lawsuit. Kansas college directed coaches to recruit whites. Let's go into this. A small community college in northeast Kansas directed its coaches to recruit more white athletes and target black prospective students with an excessive scrutiny such as background checks before offering scholarships. According to the lawsuit filed by the American Civil Liberties Union of Arkansas. So they are literally, badgering these players and going into deep dives into their lives and their past like they do with us every time to judge us on a situation to make us less than what we are currently in front of you in the situation that they might be even been trying to better. Here are brothers that are trying to enter college and get an education for themselves, and we see that there is a plot in some places behind this thing. It continues to read, the ACLU alleges in a federal lawsuit filed March 19th that Highland Community College instituted a plan 6 months ago to reduce the number of black students. It contends the college's strategy included expelling black students for minor or bogus infractions and singling them out for dorm room and vehicle searches, discriminatory surveillance, and harassment. So what they plan to do was to do everything that they possibly could to either expel or get rid of black students, and then through either maybe sports programs or scholarships, educational scholarships, they are looking deep into black students to find whatever they can to deny them. Further goes on to read, filed on behalf of 4 former and current students, the lawsuit names Eric Ingmeyer, Vice President for Student Services, and Brian Dorrell, the college's athletic director, as defendants. They did not immediately respond to email messages seeking comment. Highland Community College has more than 3,200 students, 87% of whom are white. During the 2019 season, 104 of the 111 football players were black. The 2020 football recruiting class includes a significantly lower number of black athletes, the lawsuit alleges. The lawsuit alleges Mr. Doro told coaches to recruit more local kids and less Southern kids. They are preparing our downfall. Here are brothers that may even come out of the hood, and all they had was sports to get them out of that mindset, and that's what they feel good in. And look at the people who take time out of their day to hold us back as a people. This is why we must unify. We cannot put our trust into any other people until we put trust into ourselves, because we don't even know what real trust looks like until we start trusting ourselves. The last article that I will be reading out of is on page 28. It is an insert from the book How to Eat to Live, part 1 and 2 by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the title of this is Beautiful Appearance in Long Life. In this article, it goes to read, we must take this teaching of eating once a day, binding upon us as a law, in order to get any good from it as Allah God desires. The purpose of these dietary laws and the time that we should partake of food is to lengthen our lives by ridding us of the greedy desire to eat 3 times a day in between meals if we are offered food. The main purpose of this teaching, How to Eat to Live, is to prolong our lives. Beauty appearance is destroyed in us, not just our facial appearance, but the most beautiful appearance about us are characteristics, the way we act and practice our way of life. We achieve one of the greatest beauties when we achieve the spiritual beauty and characteristics through practicing them. We achieve the spiritual beauty through practicing or carrying into practice the spiritual law. So basically what he is saying is that, God has prescribed this for us. It is proven that fasting cleanses your body and it gives your stomach a rest. And your stomach is the engine that keeps your body alive because it's what pushes the nutrients into your body. So what it is saying here is without spiritual law and the characteristics that bring upon spiritual law, you don't have spiritual beauty. So let's all stay beautiful and eat right, because that's the one thing in our community that is killing us. Rather than this virus, we must protect ourselves from that, but we must protect ourselves from ourselves. So I appreciate you all for joining me on another deep dive of the Final Call newspaper. This is again titled Ancient Babylon, A Sign of America, Written Testimony. This is the issue from April 7th, 2020. And I hope to see you all very soon. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Brain Food TV. Peace.